Hi guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm going to be looking at the new T29 Minuteman, and it's a brand new American premium heavy. It's a premium version of the T29, and as you can see, it's had a lot of spaced armor welded onto it, so you know, it has had some sort of compensation for that in some of its stats. But yeah, I mean, straight off the bat, you know, I quite like it. Oh, and obviously the stats of this and anything else compare it to, you know, correct at the time of doing this video, because things like to get nerfed and buffed quite a lot, don't they? So yeah, Minuteman T29, premium T29, and I think at the minute the ultimate pack, obviously with 30 days and various other gubbins in there, is about 10,000 gold. Its listed price in Tankepedia is 6,800. I would imagine you're probably going to pay around, I've not had a look, but around 7,000 for a base bundle, something like that. And yeah, it's quite nice. It's a bit slower. I've got some differences, like the main sort of important differences between this and the T29. It does hold 3 less ammunition than the T29 for some reason. And yeah, it is a bit slower. As you would imagine, you know, you've just strapped a hell of a lot of steel onto this thing, so it's going to be slower. But yeah, I quite like it. It kind of reminds me, and I think some of you have probably seen on Twitter, it reminds me of some of the older premiums that we've had. Kind of like, I mean, I think I've said before in videos that, you know, how I feel that premiums kind of, well, not sort of how they should be, but how they used to be, where they were not quite as good as a fully upgraded tech tree equivalent, but they were better than a stock one, and you know, normally with some sort of unique feature, and that's what this is. That's exactly what it is. It's not quite as good as a fully upgraded T29. It's better than a stock one, but it's got a unique feature in the guise of all that spaced armor that's on the side of it. Now, obviously, it's called the Minuteman. It's you know, called that after the Minutemen from the American Revolutionary War. And it also has the Gadsden flag on the side of it, the coiled snake with "Don't Tread on Me." Now, I apologise if this triggers people, but to me, that coiled snake is always going to be Metallica from the Black Album. So, yeah, apologies. But that's just what it reminds me of. Whenever I see it, I'm like, man, Metallica tank. But there you go. It does have a gold gun, although it's not supposed to be gold. It's supposed to be bronze to represent the cannons that we used at the time, although one of that size would have been made of cast iron. Bit of, yeah, just useless information for you there. Cast iron could be cast longer and bigger, so it could have a bigger shot and a longer range. And brass was only used on the smaller guns. But yeah, so there you go. It's also got something stamped into the barrel. I can't quite make out what it is. A star in some sort of wreath with something underneath it. I do apologise again, but I can't quite make out. Well, obviously I can make out bits of it, but I'm not quite sure what that symbol is. So yeah, there's not much really to say about it. Stats wise, a lot of them are very similar to the T29. The gun is basically the same, apart from it's had a rate of fire reduction. So we'll have a quick look at that. I mean, I do like this tank. It's one that is going to be making its way into my garage. I just don't have the money yet. Hopefully it'll come in before I have to, well, before it goes out the store. So it's still got the 105. It does have the stock turret, but that doesn't really mean much on the T29. It's still got the same sort of armor profile. It just doesn't have the rangefinders on the side, which obviously are no-hit zones anyway. It has more view range than the stock turret, though, at 350 instead of 330, but that's 30 meters less than a regular T29. But yeah, other than the rate of fire being 4.38 instead of 5 point something, I think it is on the normal T29. The gun stats are the same, so you know, it's that 105 that you probably know and are familiar with, same accuracy and aim time, etc. You do get 6 degrees, not 6 degrees, where is it? 3 degrees less hull traverse at 22 as opposed to 25, and you get 4 degrees less on your turret at 22 again as opposed to 26. And you know, again, that's kind of understandable. You know, as I said before, it has got a load of steel strapped onto it as well. So I kind of expected it to be slower and slower on the traverses as well, you know, to balance it out a little bit. And you know, it does have a smaller engine, 720 horsepower, which does give it a lower power to weight ratio by, well, not by loads, but it does feel a little sluggish on the takeoff, and especially going up hills. But to give you a sort of comparison, it's similar power to weight ratio and traverses as a fully upgraded Tiger P, which will kind of give you a bit of an idea of sort of comparison for those of you that have been through that tank. But it also has 50 less health than a regular T29. The DPM works out as 281.6 less damage per minute than a regular T29. This is all based on stock, obviously. If you put skills and equipment and etc. on there, you can alter things around a little bit. 30 meter less view range, as I said before, 50 less HP, and obviously that power to weight ratio, and the 3 less ammunition, which is kind of neither here nor there. So, let's have a think. Where was I going to go from here? Because I've completely gone blank. That was it. Supplies, well, again, same as a regular T29. You know, there's no surprise there. Consumables, well, I've put a case of cola on it. I've actually taken off the fire extinguisher because I just didn't get set on fire, and put some cola on. I have been set on fire once, however, since then, and I'm lucky that I've got the fully trained crew on this press account, because otherwise that could have been a very bad thing for me. So I would put preventative maintenance on it, just so you can probably swap out the fire extinguisher for some cola, because it just helps with that view range, it helps with your reload and everything else as well. But yeah, definitely preventative maintenance, and definitely get clutch braking on it, just to help with that hull traverse. You know, I do like this tank, but sometimes that hull traverse can feel a bit ugh. But then again, you know, used to in the Tiger P when I was in that, sometimes, you know, I'd be like, oh god, it turns so slowly, and then other times it just wouldn't bother me. And it's the same with this. Occasionally it turns so slow, and then other times you just don't care. But yeah, it definitely put clutch braking on it. So, I mean, let's have a look at the armour and figures and stuff like that, and then I'll go on about some of the reload things and some of the equipment setup and what have you that I've put on it. I mean, at the moment I've got a vertical stabiliser, gun rammer, definitely a gun rammer, and I would say definitely a vertical stabiliser, unless you want to go with the gun lane drive, but that's your choice. I've got vents on it at the moment, and I'm umming and ahhing. I did have coated optics on it. I swapped it out for vents to do some experiments with the reload time, and I'm sort of umming and ahhing whether to swap back to vents, sacrifice a little bit of the reload time, and put coated optics back on it, because its view range is a little bit low, I've got to admit. So yeah, that's something I'm just sort of looking at now. As I said before, lower power to weight ratio, 10.67 as opposed to 12 point something that is on the T29. It's 1.73 horsepower per ton less. So there you go, that's all you need to know. Same top speed, reverse, and same sort of fire chance. And essentially, it is the same setup inside. It's got the same elevation and depression on the gun, fantastic depression, as we know and love from the T29. That's its sort of ace in the hole, isn't it? It's gun depression coupled with that turret, make it a sort of hull down ridgeline monster. Interestingly enough, I think the accuracy on moving tank and rotating turret are slightly different on this. On this it's 0.61 and 0.71, and on the regular, on the regular one it is 0.64 and 0.8. So yeah, the Minuteman does have better accuracy on moving tank and better accuracy on rotating the turret over the regular T29. And I think one of the things with the Minuteman is that you know, like I said, I get that they made it slower because they've strapped on a load of steel. That's fair enough. I'm just not entirely sure it needed all the nerfs that it received to balance it out. I know I said that, you know, it should be not quite as good as, and you know, but better than stock and what have you. But I think that with the health, the DPM, the hull traverses, the horsepower, horsepower per ton, that's fine. I just don't know if it really needed that view range nerf to try and make it competitive. But I do see why, you know, obviously I see why they've done it, because it would have been, I think, very OP in a tier 7 match with that extra armour. But yeah, tracks, yeah, same basically. You've just obviously got to account for the spaced armour over them now. Turret, radio, ammunition, all in the same places, as you can see there, as are the crew. And even the armour, if you ignore the spaced armour, the armour is the same kind of layout as the T29. But this is where it does change a little bit with this armour profile, with this spaced armour. I mean, your basic figures, like I say, are the same. 279 in front of the turret, 127 on the side, 102 on the rear, hull is 102 front, 76 side, 51 rear. But as you can see, there is a lot of extra space tacked onto here as well, which there are some spaces to get through on the side of the turret. You can see there's a gap, that square one, the big square one in the middle, that's where there's a small hatch. The rectangular one is where there's some sort of mounting. I think it was for the, possibly for the, no, I don't think that was for the 50 caliber. I think that used to be mounted on the back. And then there's one on the other side as well, where there is just sort of a mounting bracket. The concealment as well is the same as a regular Type 29, T29, sorry, which did surprise me at first. And I was like, that's kind of strange. This has got a perma camo. But actually, I was wrong. You can camouflage this. You can put camo on it. Some of them look pretty nice on it, actually, as well. I just wish they would dull the gold down on the gun. I know it's supposed to be bronze, but when you get it in daylight, it really does look gold. And I just wish they'd dull that down a little bit. But yeah, let's have a look at the... not so much the entire armour. I'm just going to really look at this spaced armour. So, 1 to 21. Normally when you get spaced armour on a tank like sandbags or the spaced armour plates, this is the bracket they fall into, the 1 to 21 bracket. You'll notice the ones on the tracks aren't in there, which is quite nice actually. And they can and do eat up quite a few shots. You know, they let a few through, but it really helps with side scraping. Yeah, it really helps with side scraping. But anyway, so your 1 to 21 bracket is the front of the tracks, those two plates that are just welded over there. So side on, don't try and go through those spaced plates there. Try and put it through that front section of the track, that front quarter, where it's only got the plates at the top. That is the sort of weaker point from the side. Or if you can, go just above it. But if you're going just above it, as you look, you're trying to get through, you know, you're trying to aim through the cargo stuff on the side. But yeah, try and go just above the tracks, or try and go for that front part there. You can see where the plates don't go all the way down. So yeah, they fall into that 1 to 21mm bracket, those on the sides, as do the ones around the turret. And as I said before, there are those gaps in there if you've got good enough aim, depending on which side of the turret you've got. The ones on the back, I'm going to try and confirm this, but they look to be triple layer. Now, whether that is the case, I don't know, because surely that would have come up showing thicker than 1 to 21. I really couldn't say on that one, to be honest. But the other spaced armour, the ones on the side of the tracks, actually falls in the 31 to 51mm bracket, and again appears to be double thickness. So I'm making the assumption that it's sort of 31 to 51mm overall, that it's not a case of each of those plates, because you can see that there's plates with a gap in between, sort of true spaced armour. I'm assuming that each one of those plates is not 31 to 51 in it, and that it's the whole thing overall, and that basically it's in that bracket to show that it is sort of a double thickness, you know, a double plate with a space in between. So I don't know, but yeah, they really help with the side scraping, and they have saved me a few times from the side from sort of same and lower tier light tanks. It ate a shot from a T44, and a couple of other things as well. So overall, I am kind of impressed. It does have, you know, it's not all singing, all dancing. You know, it does have its drawbacks. Oh, the bonuses, by the way, are 35% silver and 20% XP. So not too bad, kind of typical for a tier 7. But yeah, I think I'll just get into the gameplay now, and I'll talk about it a bit more over there with the drawbacks and what have you, and sort of what I did experimenting with the reload time. So yeah, let's just get into the gameplay. Right, so here we are for the first match. This is tier 8, and it's on Panama, which is a rework of Westfield. And I do, in the back of my mind, I feel as though I've sort of skipped through the garage a bit, but apart from the key changes that I mentioned, which is, you know, essentially this reduced, you know, a few reduced stats, and the extra armour, it is a T29 underneath it all. So I just didn't feel as though I needed to cover all the armour apart from the actual additional plates. Something I did forget to mention though is on the front of the hull there are a few additional plates. It's still got the extra track that the regular T29 has, which is a little bit thicker on the front, but it has a plate welded on one side of the machine gun mount. and it also has a couple of other plates just sort of welded onto the front of the hull itself. But you know, you can see them again. They fall into the 1 to 21mm bracket of the sort of spaced armour. So yeah, they just add a little bit to a few patches on the front. But yeah, I do like I said, I do like this tank. Essentially, you kind of just play it like a T29, but you can be a little bit more aggressive even in tier 7 matches. And like the T29, you know, it can be quite a beast when it's top tier, and it can handle itself and sort of hold its own in the right situations in tier 8 and 9 matches. If you get yourself, you know, the right positioning, it can kind of hold its own. So yeah, in those respects, it does kind of just play like the T29. I had to adapt ever so slightly because it is a bit slower, and some things that you could get away with in the T29 you might not in this. I mean, you might, because your armour might save you, but you see what I'm getting at. You know, it's just that bit slower. And in fact, I've used this match because this is one of the earlier matches that I played in it, where I just sort of try and do things that I possibly shouldn't sometimes in a tank when I'm reviewing it, just to see what it can and can't do. So yeah, it's not bad. It's an alright match. It's okay. But yeah, I do get outmaneuvered by a super Pershing, so that kind of gives you an idea of some of the limits of the speed of this thing. I mean, its terrain resistances aren't bad. They're about the same. I think the first one for roads is slightly better than the T29 by, you know, some 0.01 or 0.02, you know, just a really small amount. And the same with the other two, they are slightly worse, but again, it's like by 0.01 or 0.02, so they're as near as damn it the same ground resistances. So as I started going on about in the garage, because I've obviously mentioned that the rate of fire is less on this, and obviously that results in less DPM. So I started messing about with a few different bits and bobs just to see what, you know, what my usual kind of setup would get its reload time down to, and then sort of, you know, how low I could get it. So its base reload is 13.7 seconds, which is quite a bit, fair bit slower than a stock, you know, sort of say stock, sort of a regular T29, you know, with nothing on it. So that's its base, no skills, no equipment. Now, if you have brothers in arms on your crew and you just put a gun rammer on it, then you can get the reload down to 11.56 seconds, which isn't bad. Definitely, you know, definitely better than 13.7. So that would kind of be my usual setup. That's what I started with: vertical stabilizer, gun rammer, and coated optics with brothers in arms on the crew. Now, brothers in arms is the only skill I think that's on the crew that actually affects the rate of fire, because obviously brothers in arms just increases everything ever so slightly. There are some others on there, but one of them is only when it's below 10% health. Another one is just for switching ammunition. So you know, I think that's the only skill on there that affects it in normal circumstances. So yeah, that was my starting setup. Was you know, with the gun ram and the other couple of bits, and brothers in arms. But then I swapped it out, and I noticed, you know, I wasn't getting set on fire, so I took the fire extinguisher off, stuck some cola on there because it's got that credit bonus, so it can, you know, you probably might not make as many credits, but you're not going to lose any, and it'll just sort of swallow up the cost of that cola. Now, with a gun rammer and swapping the coated optics out of the vent, so it's a vertical stabilizer vent and gun rammer, and the cola, and obviously brothers in arms, it got the reload down to 10.84 seconds, which is pretty good. That's not bad at all. I mean, the same setup on the regular T29, so I put the same setup on there and jumped in a match, gets the reload down to 9.02 seconds. So you know, it's still slower than that by a couple of seconds, but you know, that's only under that particular setup. But obviously getting it down to 10.84 seconds is definitely a much more workable reload. But however, I am, as I said before, torn between keeping the vents on or dumping them and putting the coated optics back on, because at 350 meters view range, it is, you know, like it's almost Russian, and it has affected it in a couple of games where I've been getting shot or shot at, and I just couldn't spot what was shooting at me. So I am a bit torn between that. if I drop the vent but still keep the Kohler and obviously Brothers in Arms and gun ram, I will lose a little bit on the reload, but it'll still be considerably better than obviously it was just with a gun rammer and Brothers in Arms. So I'll have to see. I'll have to play around with it a bit more and see what I'm going to put on it when I actually buy mine, which hopefully will be next week. But yeah, this one is on the press account. Now, yeah, is that Super Pershing. Not exactly known for being a quick tank, and yeah, the little sod out manoeuvres makes I do push on a bit too aggressive, I think. As I said before, kind of just seeing what it can and can't do at this stage. But yeah, you know, I kind of like it. I like the ramrods on the back of the turret. I generally like the colour of it. I can't really see the gun when I'm in it, so it doesn't really bother me too much. I just think it needs dulling down a little bit. But I am kind of glad you can put camo on it, as I said before, and it does kind of look nice. And I do like the Gadsden flag just on one side of the turret as well. Again, I think that's done quite nicely. Sort of subtle, but not, if you get what I mean. It's just, I don't know, I honestly think this one has been done nicely. My only quibble is that gun barrel, as I said. It is a bit of an arty magnet, complete arty magnet in fact. Most of the times that I've been taken out in this thing have been arty. Even though those side plates and the ones on the side of the turret will eat up a bit of arty, and I mean, gotta hand it to him though, that was a cracking shot. I'd gone off radar. I'd gone off radar and I'd even changed direction slightly after going off radar, or seeming to go off radar. So yeah, gotta admit, that was a cracking shot from the RT, well done. But yeah, came out that with an ace. Again, Dave released, don't put too much stock into it, but 2700 damage. Came in second place in the end to the T32, so not too bad. Not the best match in it, but it was a promising sort of start. It'd been a promising first few matches in it, so I was quite looking forward to really getting to grips with it. So anyway, here we are for the next replay. It's a tier 7 match, and it's on Northwest. A map I've not seen for a while actually. But yeah, tier 7, so looking forward to this one. As I said, this can be a bit of a beast when it's top tier, as the regular T29 can. I mean, I'm a big fan of the T29 anyway, so, you know, I could be slightly biased towards this tank. I do like it. I think if you're not a fan of the T29, you know, obviously I don't think this is going to be for you. But if you sort of can take, if you think the T29, I mean, if your issue with the T29 was always its hull armour, you know, it could be worth having a think about for yourself. But generally, I think again, if you don't like the T29, you're probably not going to get on with this. But you know, when it gets going, it does get up to its top speed. It's just sometimes it takes a while just to get going, and you really do notice it going uphill. It does feel very, very slow going uphill. So I mean, there's some of the drawbacks, and it does. You know, I'm not saying, you know, like I said before, it's not all singing, all dancing. It does have its downsides. The Traverse has kind of cost me a little bit when I first started playing it, or not when I very first started playing it, but a sort of few games in. And I think if I was in a regular T29, I would have been okay. And it was when something circled me, and you know, my own fault, I got a bit too close. And something circled me and I just couldn't quite keep the gun on it, and if I'd have been in a regular one, you know, I would have done. If I'd have not got clutch braking on it, it would have been even worse. So that is a slight drawback, so you do have to kind of ever so slightly alter your playstyle from the T29, only slightly. Some ways for the better. Obviously, you know, you have got a bit more armour on your side, so you can side scrape more effectively in this than you can the regular T29. And as I've said before, those plates on the side have saved me from circling light tanks before, same tier and lower tier light tanks, and they just, you know, they just kept going around the side, just pop, 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 and they just kept hitting those. It was only when they actually realised and then decided to start shooting me in the backside that they started doing a bit of damage, but I managed to take a couple of them out, you know. One of them nearly killed me and somebody else took it out, and I think one did kill me at one point in a different match. And one of the other things it kind of suffers with to a degree, and people who've been in like the T28 prototype, the AT line, you know, the British TD line, will kind of understand this. And even though it's still got that top speed of 35, it does have, you know, reduced power to weight ratio. And I think Tiger P's probably suffered from this occasionally, although probably to a lesser extent because he's got a better rate of fire. But sometimes, if you're in a match and most of the other tanks on your team and the enemy team are sort of quicker tanks, and it ends up being a sort of fairly fast-paced game, sometimes you just can't quite keep up with it. I had a game and it was great, we won, but the team, a lot of them were in faster tanks, you know, with sort of quite high DPM kind of guns, and I'd maybe get one shot into something and then it'd be dead, and then I, you know, might get another shot into something else, and I finished the game only having about 3 pens, and it wasn't for sort of lack of trying it, you know, it was just the game was so fast paced, and the other tanks had sort of, you know, such high DPM. With the, it was before I put the cola and the vents on actually, and with the sort of DPM on this being reduced, even only by that little bit, and I mean the T29 sometimes that can be the same. You take a shot and you get, you know, we get 1 pen on a tank and then it's dead because you've got these fast DPM tanks around, you go bang, you know, bang, bang, just pumping away at them. But this, it did seem to feel as though that was a bit more prevalent in a couple of matches where, I mean, there was one I just couldn't keep up. The tank literally just couldn't keep up. It was on Tundra, and you know, because Tundra is quite a rolling map, the other tanks were just pulling off head and I was still trying to get up hills and stuff. But you can just see the plates there on that one, just above and below the extra track bits. And as I said, one just to one side of the machine gun, full machine gun. But yeah, Tundra, with it being sort of quite a rolling map and a lot of ups and downs, it was just, as I was going uphill, I'm still going up the hill there over the top of the hill shooting at stuff, you know, and it was just, if it is a particularly fast-paced game, you probably will struggle, or you can struggle to keep up and actually get the damage done just because of your rate of fire, simple as that. So again, you know, it does have drawbacks to it. But I think that's about it, really. Talking about that, so I'll just commentate on what's left of the game. It's about even, 8-9 is it, in the enemy favour? Yeah, not too bad. I've decided to turn back. I didn't want to carry on up towards the enemy cap because, one, I've got a bit more of a hill to climb up that way, I think, if I remember rightly, although I've not really been on this map much, or no, sorry, I've not been down this end of this map since they really made changes to it. But it was just looking a bit hairy towards our end. There's the TD asking for help. That was a nice little shot, even if I do say so myself. Yeah, the TD asking for help, and I'd seen a couple of our tanks just sort of drop off, and I'd also seen a couple of enemy tanks on the radar over here. And I was assuming that most of the tanks to the left are probably going to be along that top northern side, along that ridge, because, or they're going to be milling about in the centre. I think I'd seen a T29, or at the time I thought I'd seen a T29 up this way somewhere, and that's kind of what I'm coming back to try and deal with. I've still got full health, so I'm quite happy with that. I'm hoping the enemy T29 doesn't. And then, fingers crossed, if he's not got the right equipment set up on it, I should hopefully have at least equal DPM to him. With the equipment set up I've got on here, obviously you can see the Cola, I've got vents, I've got brothers in arms as well. Now, oh, RT, can I get a shot? I should have noticed him a bit earlier, and if I had, I probably could have hit him. And, well, yeah, we're going to see a little bit more of him. He's going to cause me a little bit of consternation before this match is out. We did have a tank going along that top way, but he's been taken out. And that's a little French arty. I didn't quite notice what it was at the time. I thought it was a French one. I didn't quite pay attention to what it was. And then all of a sudden the rate of fire on it kind of occurred to me, is it a Bert or something? But no, it's a French. Is it the AMX... whatever it is, it's an AMX French arty, you know, one of them. Fast firing, sort of low damage kind of thing. But yeah, we'll see a bit more of him as the match progresses. So I was a bit, well, I couldn't quite understand where that T29 had gone. I could have sworn I'd seen him where I actually, or more or less where I went through, and I thought, well, you know, he's quicker than I am, but surely I would have seen him at some point or caught sight of him, but nope, didn't see him. Not quite sure where he is. The TD is now fighting a VK360H. I've got this T3485, who has just been wiped off the face of the earth by the TD. The SU-122-44, was it? I couldn't quite see then. But yeah, that RT set me on fire. That is the only time I've been set on fire in this. You can see it went right through my engine deck. And if I didn't have the crew that I've got in, this being the press account, that could have been a lot worse. And then he hit me again. But now I'm going after that 361H, who is, well, TD is still alive. I'm moving, but I'm very slow. TD is just being taken out by the T29. Where's the T29 hiding? Hello, Mr. 361H. You're not going to harm me. And in fact, oh, he was dinging off the front as well at one point. Now, I've just been hit. That was the T29. Then RT. Then the T29 again. I really need to get up this hill and out of the way. There he is. Now I know where he is. But RT is still here, and there we go again. Shaved off a little bit more. That hit, but that didn't pen. And I'm not sure if that one that hit the side plates penned or if that was just a small amount of splash damage that it did. But it's now starting to look a little bit hairier. There is myself on very, very low health. There is another heavy. I can't remember. I think it might be a T29 of ours up at the other end, dealing with... It looks like he's dealing with a TD. I've got the T29 up here who has backed off a bit. So I'm going to try and get myself into a better position. And try and get around on him a little bit more. And then who pops up? Mr. Arty. There you go, sunshine. Have some of that. Yeah, he gave enough to me then. He was my main concern, to be honest. I know that sounds a bit like, oh yeah, the T29 is not really a concern. He kind of was. But with the T29, I know I can hide my tank against him and how to angle against him. The RT, you know, he could drop one on me from, well, wherever, and I wouldn't even see it coming, so he was my concern, RT, and I was wanting to get rid of him, and I did, luckily. And just as I was trying to make my way up to the other end of the map, that's when the T29 popped up again. I was just trying to, well, I say I was trying to get round on the T29. I think that was my initial plan. Then RT distracted me, and then momentarily I forgot about the T29 and was deciding to head up towards the other end of the map with the teammate, because, you know, why be separate and be able to be picked up one by one? I was, you know, I'm on very, very low health when we could have teamed up. But the teammate, he's managed to take down the TD. And then he starts capping, which draws this T29 away. And I think, nope, I really don't want you to get away from me. Have I got a little gap here? I have. Hello. And there we go, you can have one on each side. And I'm going to back off again, because I do not want to expose anything that he could have a chance of penning. And then, instead of driving forwards and carrying on towards his cap, he decides to try and finish me off. I'm going to wait. There we go. That's another one. You see, he could have carried on going, and I'm not entirely sure if he's got it fully upgraded or not. I could have sworn I saw a muzzle brake on the end of there. That's something about this tank as well. It's got a muzzle brake on the end. I've just realised the T29 does not have one on its 105. So at a distance, that could fool people into thinking it's got a 90mm. For a little bit anyway. Not for very long. But yeah, very, very happy with that round. 4,500 damage, 2,300 blocked. Devastator, Top Gun obviously comes with it. Steel wall. And high caliber as well. And just over 100,000 earned. So yeah, very, very happy with that round. And as I say, it can be a bit of a beast top tier in the right situation and what have you. Not always. I'm not going to say that's going to be every tier 7 match you have. It really isn't. But yeah, it can be a bit of a beast in top tier, and it can hold its own in the other tiers as well. So there you go, the Minuteman T29 will be the second premium tank I've bought for a long time. I bought the Bison, and I'm going to be buying that one next week as soon as I've got the money spare for it. And that's my personal thing, but then again, I'm a big fan of the T29. But whether you guys are interested in it, that's up to you. I'll just try and give you my opinion and show you what it can do. Anyway, there you go. Hope you've enjoyed that one. So that's it for now. So take care of that, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.